Welcome, everybody, to my driver ratings for the 2025 Formula 1 British Grand Prix. If you don't know, every Monday after a Grand Prix weekend, we hop on the Twitch stream and we do a review. We look at the highlights, we look at the driver reactions, F1 Fantasy, F1 Predicts. We have a look at all the news and memes from the weekend. And then we end the stream on Twitch, on YouTube, on TikTok by doing our ratings for the drivers. We go in reverse finishing order and we rate them out of 10. Now, with my ratings, I like to rate them purely based off of performance and both off of qualifying and the race. So that's what we're going to do today. There'll be a poll up in chat that you guys can vote on. If you're watching on TikTok or YouTube, come join us on Twitch. Like I said before, we're always live on Twitch. So that's where we've been for the last 4 hours discussing the Grand Prix. It's been a long one, so sorry for the delay on the driver ratings. But yeah, that will also be the place where you can get your votes in chat for the polls. Sorry, for the drivers' ratings. All right, let's get straight into it. So, starting off with, in last, Franco Colapinto, who did not even start the race. The poll is up in chat. So get your votes in the Twitch chat. So, to explain again how it works, this is the poll. Rate Franco Colapinto's British Grand Prix. All you need to do is type the number in Twitch chat and it'll put your vote on the poll. So yeah, let's go. So Franco Colapinto. Let's talk about his weekend. In qualifying, he qualified P20. He got out-qualified by his teammate by 7/10, but he crashed. He crashed into the wall in qualifying and sent himself to the back of the grid. And then in the race, he did not start because of a mechanical issue. So, because he didn't start the race and it was no fault of his own, I am going to give an inconclusive. But if I had to rate him based off of his qualifying, I'm going to be a 1, right? Not only was he slow, but he crashed. So 1 for qualifying, but because he didn't do the race, he gets an inconclusive. That's what we do. You know, like, it's not fair to rate someone if they don't fucking do a race. Yeah, so inconclusive, but he shouldn't be crashing in qualifying, man. Like, it feels like every second weekend he's having a crash or having a big mistake. He needs to tidy this up because we know he's quick. But is he that quick? Is he quick enough to make up for those mistakes? Because, you know, Leclerc, Max, a lot of these drivers who are really good also had their errors of making mistakes and stuff like that. But they were top-tier drivers. Is Colapinto top-tier enough to warrant the mistakes he's making? I don't know. But Smoody, Ryan, thank you guys for the follows. Run the stream. Sup, Feral. Sup, Wan. After you guys vote in chat, let me know as well. Give me a little sentence as to why you voted for what you did. Inconclusive, but really bad qualifying. There's nothing to talk about, bro. Crashed in Q1. Even with that rubbish penalty, still a good weekend for McLaren. Shocker PGG as well. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, I don't think there's much more really to say about Franco, so we will move on. Majority of you guys saying a 1, which is fair. I would also give him 1 if I rated him, but I'm going to give him inconclusive because, yeah, he didn't do the race. Anyways, let's move on from Franco. Next up, we have got, in last of the drivers who started the race, is Liam Lawson. Poll is up. Get your votes in. What do you rate Liam Lawson's weekend? One second, I'm just getting the race highlights up real quick. F1 race highlights. How's it going, Birdie? What's up, Carbon 5 on the YouTube stream, guys?
Russell Leclerc.
Whoa. Okay, so Liam Lawson in qualifying got out qualified by Hadja by 3/10. In the end, V-Carb wasn't as good as we thought. They didn't make it through. Hadja didn't make it through to Q3. But yeah, they both went. Sorry, Liam went out in Q1. Hadja went out in Q2. It was a bit of a disappointing qualifying for Liam. If I had to rate his qualifying, I'd give him a 3. Obviously, slow. At least he didn't crash or make a mistake. He was just slow. Then in the race, he had a collision with Ocon and Yuki. I think it's a pure racing incident. Look, I looked at the incident back during the review of the stream, and I do think it's a bit more Liam's fault than I thought. Like, at first, I was like, it's completely not Liam's fault. After watching it back, I do kind of feel like if you take Yuki out of the equation, I feel like Ocon and Liam might have crashed anyway because of the way Liam turned in. Either way, it is a racing incident. I don't blame Liam for that. But maybe there's a little bit of, he could have been like a little bit. It could have been avoidable. And I guess my point is, if Yuki wasn't there, that still might have happened, but we'll never know. Either way, he didn't get to do the race because of no fault of his own. So he's going to get an inconclusive as well. But again, if I had to rate him, he'd probably get a 3 or maybe 2.5 for qualifying. But yeah, didn't get to start. So, and it wasn't his fault. So same as Colapinto, inconclusive. If you wonder what inconclusive means, it just means like, because they didn't do the race because of their own, because of no fault of their own, we can't come to a conclusive rating, at least in my mind. So yeah, this is because Lawson sucks. Okay, dude. Sup, it's Willie. I feel like Liam was not going to give any room to Ocon trajectory if his car was heading to the apex. Thank you. You're the first person to agree with me. And the thing is, I'm a Liam fan, and people were still like, "What? Are you dumb? That's not Liam's fault at all." No, that's Yuki's fault. So you're actually the first person to agree with me. So I'm surprised. Sup Carbon Fiber, man, what a fall off from his 9 out of 10 race to this. No, we gave him a 10 last week. You said that 1 is reserved for drivers that did crash and affected others drivers' races. Yeah, 1 is reserved for people who crash and are slow, which in qualifying Colapinto was crashed and was slow. So it makes sense to give him a 1 for quali, but yeah, again, inconclusive because he didn't do the race. Anyways, majority of you guys saying 2 and 3 for Liam, but I assume same as me, it's kind of hard to rate a driver who didn't start the race. So, yeah. All right, moving on. First driver, no, not first driver. We move on to another DNFer. We move on to Bortoletto, but he did DNF on his own. Poll is up. What do you vote? Liam Lawson's weekend. How do you vote? You come over to the Twitch stream HB and then you type in chat. Yeah, Gabby. In qualifying, he out-qualified Nico Hulkenberg by 1/10. Good job. You know, he's consistently trading qualifying positions with Hulkenberg, which is good to see. Obviously, ideally, we'd love to see him consistently out-qualify Hulkenberg, but I mean, I think it's just hard in that Sauber. It's very touchy car. So it's going to be hard to get right consistently. But yeah, obviously went out in Q1. I think the Sauber was probably capable of making Q2, but the drivers just weren't able to do that. So yeah, he beat his teammate, which was decent. Then in the race, him and his team opted to go on the wrong tire. Now, whenever I rate drivers based off of strategy, it's always 50-50 for me. I think it's 50% the team's fault for doing the wrong strategy, but also the driver agrees to the strategy. And like, you know, Gabriel Bortoletto did the formation lap, right? He can see how wet the car is, and he chose to agree to go onto the medium tires. So at the end of the day, him crashing because he's on the wrong tire is his fault, or is at least partly his fault. It's not like the team are like, oh, go on mediums quick, and then he can't see the track. He's fucking driving the track on the formation lap. So yeah, I think Bortoletto, very poor mistake, crashing out. I mean, I like that he went for the risk, right? At the end of the day, no matter what rating I give him, I still like the decision to have taken a risk, because especially when they inverted the strategy for the drivers. So Hulkenberg going one way, Bortoletto going the other way. It didn't work out for Bortoletto. It fucking worked out for Hulkenberg. So look, at the end of the day, I'm going to give Bortoletto a 2. Oh, what the fuck have I done? What the fuck have I done? One sec. I'm going to give Bortoletto a 2. Again, at least beat his teammate in qualifying, but was still went out in Q1 when that car is capable of making Q2 and beyond, as we've seen. And yeah, crashing out on his own. We're going to give him a 2. But yeah, again, I get why he did it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change the fact that he had a poor weekend overall, especially when his teammate is getting a fucking podium. 3 inconclusive in a row. How fun. Not much to say from him, to be honest. Well, you can't give him an inconclusive because he did qualifying, and it was his fault in the race. Yo, quick question. Have you heard the rumors about the RB19 and 20 parts being added to the RB21 at Spa? I've not seen anything about that 60 OG. If there's a link, feel free to link it, but I've not seen that. JDT, 60 OG, It's Willie, and Mint Block. Thank you guys for the follows. Welcome to the stream. I see this driver making a decision and the team agreeing. I agree. Well, I think in this case, there's no way Bortoletto goes around the lap and just goes, oh, yeah, it's so dry. Like, put me on the dry tires. Like, I don't know. Actually, the wettest part of the track was after the pit entry. After the pit entry? I mean, yeah, I get you, but it was still pretty wet in Sector 3 in general. But yeah. Anyways, Majority of you guys giving Borderletto a 2. So we agree. We agree. Moving on to another DNFer. Oh my god, so many DNFs. Next up, we have got Isaac Hadja. Would you vote for Hadja? Get your votes in on the poll by typing in chat. In an interview he did in Portuguese, he admitted the choice and the crash was entirely his fault. Oh, there you go. There you go. Thanks for the info, Matt. You kind of look like Liam Lawson. I'll take that. Thank you. Thank you. What do you give Hadja's weekend out of 10? So, Hadja, in qualifying, made it through to Q2. He out-qualified Liam by 3/10, but he did go out in Q2 ultimately. I do think that car... I don't know, it's hard to say. Part of me wants to say that V-Carb is capable of Q3, but the fact that both drivers didn't make Q3 makes me think maybe it wasn't capable of Q3. He got out-qualified by Sonoda, Sainz, Gasly, but he did out-qualify Albon. He did out-qualify his teammate. I don't know, it's hard to tell. We'll say it was an okay qualifying for Hadja. It wasn't too crazy, but he beat his teammates, so yeah. And then in the race, what happened before he crashed? Okay, he was hanging around at the back of the group of Antonelli and then crashed into the back of him. Look, Hadja's crash, I understand why it happened. It's not his fault in the sense of how wet it was and the fact that he couldn't see. But I do think he could have been a little bit more careful in those conditions. Like, he knew it was wet, he knew he couldn't see, and he still came flying into cops, broke very late, and hit Antonelli. Again, don't blame him for the crash, but I do think he could have been a bit more careful. Look, overall, I think I'm going to give him a 3 rating. I'm not going to really demote him down for the crash, because, again, I don't really think it's too much his fault as hard conditions. But he was slow, and I don't think his qualifying was anything too amazing. So we're going to give him a 3. Part of me's feeling like maybe a 2.5, but no, we'll go 3, just considering the situation. What are you guys saying, though? Wilted Rose, bro typed out Wilted Rose. Borderloader doesn't have the experience to drive on the wrong tires on that track. Yeah, that as well. Sup, JDT, Marley on the string, guys. Crash was not his fault. It was the FIA's fault. And LP made Q3. He defo could have. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing. When you've got Fernando Alonso or Gasly or Bamman making Q3, there's no excuse for Hadja, Liam, Sainz, Albon, whoever to make Q3. Everyone, I think, is capable of making Q3 in the right circumstance this year. And I think there was this season. And I think that race was an example where we could have seen multiple drivers make Q3. Stop it. Everyone was seeing the same. Ultimately, drivers do know more or less with the tracker. The fact they went flat out in cops in those conditions was insane. No, the thing is, I agree. I feel like I'm somewhat scared to say, like, it's his fault just because people are like, oh, it's how dare you? It's dangerous. But, like, I do think it's 50-50. Like, those conditions are bad, but why was he the only one that crashed in that condition? Because he wasn't being careful. So, yeah. Am I on time? We're just starting. So, perfect timing. Anyways, majority of you guys saying 4. I think it'd be lower than that. I'm tempted to give him a 2.5, to be honest. But that's your guys' choice. Majority of you guys saying 4. Adam, thank you so much for the 43-month resub, dude. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you supporting the stream as always. Hope you're doing well, sir. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I know you love the driver ratings, so you've come in time for this. But yeah, thank you so much for the 43 months, dude. Really do appreciate it. Fucking insane. It's been, because I remember you subbed Abu Dhabi 2021, I think. Well, that's when you started watching the stream at least. So crazy. How's it almost been 4 years? Wizzo Didios, name of the follow. All right, moving on. Next driver, we have got another DNF. We have got Kimi Antonelli. Poll is up. What do you vote for Kimi? Guys, if you're just tuning the stream, by the way, we are doing driver ratings. So if you're watching on TikTok or YouTube right now, come join us on Twitch. That is where you can type in chat to get your vote in on the poll. Okay, let's talk about Kimi. I think he had a shit weekend. I thought he had a very, very poor weekend. And honestly, I don't hate Kimi. I love Kimi. He's one of my favorite drivers on the grid right now. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he's slowly becoming one of the most glazed, overrated drivers on the grid. And it's really annoying me because I think he is a good driver. And I don't think he needs to be overglazed. And I think this weekend is another weekend of... He has a mid-weekend, and everyone's like, oh, Tudums, oh, it was hard conditions. You're in a fucking Mercedes, and you're getting Your teammate's 10 seconds behind you, catches up to you, passes you, and goes down the road. You're making poor decisions, which obviously is going to happen as a rookie, but he made poor decisions. And his pace was just not there in the wet. And, he keeps getting excused. Look, we're 12 races into the season. He is a rookie, so, like, it's bound to happen, especially in those conditions. But, compare that race to Australia. Australia was the perfect race for him. And now he's come to Silverstone and almost forgot exactly what he did in Australia. Anyways, let's talk about it. In qualifying, he qualified P7. He was out-qualified by his teammate by 3/10. Now, what's funny is the Mercedes did not look like it was going to be on the pace at all. And somehow Russell found the lap. And once again, Kimi is 3 to 4 tenths off of his teammate in qualifying, being out-qualified by Charles and Lewis, who made mistakes on their laps. And he's nowhere near his teammate. At least he didn't get out-qualified by someone, by a best of the rest. He didn't get out-qualified by Ollie. He didn't get out-qualified by Fernando or Pierre. But still, I think it is disappointing qualifying from Kimi. I think if you, put it this way, if you take away Kimi's face and his name, and you hear a driver finished 3 tenths behind their teammate in qualifying, got out-qualified by the 2 Ferraris in a Mercedes, had no pace the entire race, got absolutely obliterated by his teammate in race pace, you would give him a low rating. But because it's Kimi, it's like, Kimi. I don't know. It just always feels like that when I look at socials and stuff like that. All these other drivers get criticized, but Kimi kind of gets away with it, in my opinion. Anyways, in the race, he ended up getting hit by Hadja, which gave him damage for the rest of the race. So I understand that. But that happened on lap 18. To be fair, that's way earlier in the race than I thought. But still, those first 18 laps were horrible. He stayed out. Russell pit, and he stayed out. His pace before he pit was terrible. He then pit, and his pace was terrible. His teammate caught him, passed him, and pulled a 10-second gap. His pace was just shocking. His pace was just shocking all the way up until... look at this. At one point, Russell was behind him. And now Kimi is 9... Oh, wait. Sorry. I just realized this is a safety car. My bad. I just brain farted. Sorry. What the fuck? Wrong screen. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, look, I understand he got damaged from that Hadja incident. It kind of went down after that. But I still think his qualifying was poor. And I still think his race at the start was poor. I'm not going to give him as low as a rating as I thought, because I thought that I thought the crash happened over halfway point in the race. So it makes sense why the second half was so bad. I think I'm going to give him a 3. Again, just poor qualifying. I'll go with 3.5. Poor qualifying and just poo pace at the end of the day. Again, I think as a rookie in a Mercedes, given those conditions, it's not bad. I'm not going to sit on Twitter being like, this guy sucks. But my point is, like, I don't know. It's getting to the point where he's getting gassed up so much. And I don't think he's really achieved anything since whenever his podium was, which is like how many races ago. What even is Kimi's run of form at the moment? Wikipedia Antonelli. Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Let's have a look. His run of form at the moment. He's been unlucky, to be fair, but okay. Britain, poo in qualifying, poo race pace, then got an issue. Austria, how did you retire? Oh, Austria, huge rookie mistake and got out qualified by his teammate. Canada, great race. Spain, what happened in Spain? Engine failure. Okay, well, that's unlucky. But I probably still got qualified by his teammate. Monaco, crashed in qualifying. Not much more after that. Imola, unlucky. So, yeah, Imola's not his fault. Spain's not his fault. But still, he's been qualifying badly in all these races. It's just been a bad stint for him. I really hope he turns it around. But, yeah. Definitely. That's the best way to put it. It looks worse next to George, 100%. But I think it also looks better because it's Kimi. I think if you put Jack Doohan or Liam Lawson or Franco Colapinto, I think people would be giving him more shit. And that's just my opinion, at least. Anyways, what are you guys saying about Kimi? His DNF wasn't his fault, or am I wrong? I don't think he did enough just by looking at his and George's timings. All good, thank you. Yeah, made it just in time for the ratings. Let's go. You got any pace? Nah, I got potential. Kimi Antonelli without the word potential. He was fucking 13th when it happened. Yeah, exactly. And was dropping off too much on the slicks compared to the other slick runners. It's not because rookies struggle in the wet. Is it not because rookies struggle in the wet? Yeah, but like, he didn't struggle in the wet in Australia, you know what I mean? We know he has it there. He wasn't used to slicks in the wet, and if you say I'm glazing because of the name, this is something a rookie would do. I think it looks worse next to George. Wait, that looks worse next to George. Monaco Mercedes was a clown show. Well, Russell is just a better driver, but most rookies are worse than their team driver. No, 100%, 100%. I mean, this is always the topic when we do driver ratings. Is like, you need to compare them to their teammate, but do you take into account that Kimi and Yuki are up against the best drivers, two of the best drivers on the grid? You know what I mean, we do, you know, it's hard. It's hard. Run of form, just on looking at results, abysmal. Yeah. Comparing him to George is criminal. George is fully developed. Kimi's an 18-year-old driver. But again, we're rating performances. We're not taking biases into account. We're not going, okay, Kimi, you're a rookie. Your goal today is to finish P8. Yay, you get a 10 out of 10. No, we're rating performances. At the end of the day, his performance was, he didn't beat his teammate. He was nowhere near his teammate, and his pace was poo. Again, if I'm talking from a non-rookie standpoint, it wasn't that bad. But like, if you got to take the name and the face away and just be like, how was their performance? And it wasn't a good weekend for Kimi. Why is his quali bad? He qualified right where the car belongs. Did he? He's 3 tenths behind Russell and got out qualified by the Ferraris who made mistakes. Don't get me wrong. He should be out qualified by the Ferraris. But when they make mistakes, should be out qualified by them? I'd argue not when your teammate's up in P4. But again, that's comparing him to George. But that's just how I do my ratings, I guess. Cubus, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. But bad, it wasn't his fault. The strategy killed him. But Kimi is involved in the strategy. Kimi is driving on a wet track and chooses to go, yes, team, we are going to pit on slicks right now. You know what I mean? Anyways, I thought Kimi had a poor weekend. I hope he turns it around. I'm giving it a 3.5. Majority of you guys are saying 4, so we somewhat agree, but I think maybe I'm a bit more harsher on Kimi just because, like, I just treating him like a normal driver, I feel, but maybe it's just the way I do my ratings as well, but yeah. Anyways, next up, are we past the DNFs yet? Oh, finally. All right, we move on to last of the people who finished the race. We've got Yuki Tsunoda. Get your votes in on the poll. What do you rate Yuki's weekend? Out of 10. Okay, Yuki, let's talk about it. In qualifying, look, he qualified P12, which is pretty good given the current run of form in the Red Bull. But again, we're kind of taking all that out of the equation. At the end of the day, he got out-qualified by 5 tenths by his teammate. He went out in Q2, and his teammates got in P1. Not that it means anything because he's in a Red Bull, but he did out-qualify Hadja and Albon this week and Lawson, which is a positive. But in the race, what a shit show. I mean, does anyone know, by the way, did Yuki have the same setup and parts as Max? Because later on when I talk about Max, I am going to compliment him a lot with the car that he had. So if Yuki had the same car, I can understand why he finished last. But I guess the argument is Max is finishing P5 and Yuki's finishing 1 minute behind. So he did. Okay, well, in that case, look, Yuki was in a very tough spot. You're driving the hardest to drive car in the grid with a Monza setup. That is going to be very, very difficult. But yeah, at the end of the day, he's finished a lap down on the leaders and he's finished, how far behind Max? He's finished 39, 46, 50, 52, 56, 57. 1 minute, 1 minute 4. He's finished 1 minute and 4 seconds down on Max in the same car. And again, I understand how hard it is, and we're going to compliment Max later, but you also have to admit, like, Yuki's not done a good job. And like, again, I get why this is happening. For any Yuki fan listening, you might be like, oh, well, every Red Bull driver's had that problem. I completely agree. And this is not me saying, I don't think Yuki's a shit driver at all. But when we do driver ratings, we gave Perez low ratings. We gave Liam low ratings. We've got to give Yuki low ratings because at the end of the day, we're rating the performance. And the performance was poo-poo. So yeah, I'm going to give Yuki a... It's tough because he didn't crash in any of the sessions. And when someone doesn't crash and doesn't spin, I'd give them a 3. But because he was shockingly off the pace in the race, I'm going to say a 2.5, I think. I'm going to say a 2.5. But then again, yeah, he did finish the race. No, you know what? I'm going to give him a 3. I'm going to give him a 3. It's only fair. He finished the race in that hard-to-drive car. He needs some props for that. He needs some props for that. Why is my YouTube chat being spammed? Ponden is not a Lando fan. What? If Stroll changes his way on talking and blaming the other people for his mistakes, I might just put him on my good list instead of naughty list. Wait, what? When does Lance Stroll turn into Prime Center? We're not up to Stroll yet, guys. We're talking about Yuki right now. Oh, actually, I forgot about that. I forgot Yuki took out Behrman. He did make a mistake. And he did that risky move on Liam and Ocon. Again, racing incident, but like that was silly. Okay, I'm gonna put it down to a 2.5. 2 incidents, 2 pretty poor incidents. But I still think like he did finish the race, so well done. And that really hard to drive car. And like it's only fair considering I'm gonna glaze Max later. He got to fight with the Ferrari when Leclerc came down to play with Yuki. Put Checo's face there and he'll be hung by dawn. Okay. Horner said that they took a very different setup approach on Yuki's car. Right. Max had the new floor. Yuki had the new floor. Max got earlier. Right. Checo got P2 and a Red Bull at Silverstone, man. We might have been too harsh. I don't think he's had the wing. Yuki did say that he had a loss of power at the end of Q3. I forgot about that. Which cost him Q3. Worse than Lawson, low-key. Was going to sit here and say the seat is cursed, but it's not helping himself getting all the pens. Well, that's the thing. That we only saw Liam for 2 races, but that was the thing I gave Liam props for, is like in 2 races, he had 1 crash, and that was spinning on mediums in the wet because Red Bull forced him to stay out. And, you know, he was just off the pace. And that's what, again, we don't have a big enough data pool to look at, but like, he was slow, but at least he didn't crash. Compared to Yuki and Perez, who it felt like every second week they're crashing or getting penalties and stuff like that. Like they're trying too hard. And that was what I respected about Liam's approach, was he came in with the mindset of, I'm here to learn from Max. I'm not as good as Max. I'm going to be Max's little brother. I'm going to learn and I'm not going to try too hard. Whereas Yuki has come in exactly like what I thought. And it's just trying too hard, I think. The only driver to get lapped. Was this setup also low downforce like Max? Yeah, it seems like it. Congratulations, Yuki Tsunoda, for doing the barest of minimums by finishing the race. Hey, that's good when you've got other people retiring, Matt. I think he should be a 1 because he didn't drive to collect data for Max. He drove his own race and it fucking sucked. And Yuki fucking flipped the car. Alright, we're gonna move on from Yuki. We are gonna move on from Yuki. Alright, majority of you guys saying a 1. A 1. No, I get your guys' reasoning, but he finished the race, guys. He finished the race. How does he get a lower rating than fucking whoever? Anyways, moving on. Moving on. Next up, we got another driver who had absolute stinker. I think this is today's rating. We're gonna have half the grid's gonna be under a 4 rating. Half the grid's gonna be above an 8 rating, I think. Oh my god. Next up, we have got Charles Leclerc. I don't know if I'm being dramatic. Tell me if I'm being dramatic. I think that was Leclerc's worst race ever in Formula 1. Like, people will be like, yeah, France 2022. Okay, he qualified on pole or second and then crashed out of the race, but he had good race pace. Oh, but this other race where he crashed. Okay, he had good race pace. Bro had no race pace. He got out-qualified by his teammate, made an awful mistake in qualifying, and I think went off track about 14 times. I can't think, like, I don't know. Has Leclerc ever had a good wet race? I'm trying to think. Like, have I ever seen Leclerc in the wet and gone, he's actually kind of decent. He's actually kind of decent in the wet. Like, I'm trying to think when he's ever had a, like, he's not bad in the wet. Maybe he is bad in the wet now, but he's not bad in the wet. He's just not good in the wet. He's just not good. Give me one name between Bortoleto and Carlos. Wait, one name between Bortoleto and Carlos? What do you mean? Do you support Liam? I am a Liam fan, yeah. Japan 2022? What are you doing in Japan 2022? You just finished P2? No, Japan 2022, he fucking made a mistake on the last lap and threw away a podium. If I'm not wrong. Or threw away P2. I'm fairly sure. Something like that. Was that 2023? Right. Sup, Jasmine, on the stream. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. All right, talk about Charles. Charles, in qualifying, he got out-qualified by his teammate by 10th. So, not only did his teammate make a mistake, he made a mistake, but his teammate made a mistake, and he still got out-qualified by him. He got out-qualified by George Russell, and yeah, I think the Ferrari just had the opportunity to go for pole, or at least be further up the grid, and he made a mistake. He got qualified by his teammate. At least he out-qualified Kimi Antonelli, right, guys? And then, in the race, absolutely abysmal. I like that he took the risk, right? I like that he took the risk. But when you look at where other people finished who took the same risk, like Russell finished higher up the road. Who else took a risk? I can't remember. There's a few others who took the risk and finished ahead of him. But like, where was his pace? Where was his pace? Why is he finishing 50 seconds behind his teammate? Why did he make so many mistakes? Now, Lewis also made mistakes, which we'll talk about. But he made so many mistakes. His race pace was nowhere. He was never in it at all. He was never in the race at all. To a point where I think everyone pit, and he was still like P4 at one point. I don't know what it is with Charles, man. I don't know what it is with Charles. At the end of the day, he got the car over the line, but yeah, he gets a 3, man. He gets a 3. What a poor weekend. Yeah. He overtook the Williams, but these were brutal. He was going to be P7, so he had pace. What do you mean he was going to be... What do you mean he was going to be P7? It's crazy, though, that his car had GPS and he finished further down than the Lewis without GPS. 2 terrible weekend. It was terrible. The fraud. Russell made the same decisions, end up in the gravel, and still finish far ahead of this guy. Exactly. If I have Alex St. Malouk supporting me, I wouldn't allow a performance like this to happen. The only reason I didn't give him lower than a 3 is he was overtaking people. I mean, you'd hope he was overtaking people in a Ferrari, right? Ferrari started experimenting on him with different strategies like 2024, but he was shit on his own too. Poor performance. It probably was his decision to pit on the slicks after formation lap. That's why he spun in the beginning of the race, but he spun more than I've lost that message in chat. It just vanished. It's a 2.5, the worst race of his whole career, second to last. It's just sad he held to high standards. World-class driver can't be finishing second to last. I feel like the VSC is sort of stalemate to the people who switched early. Yeah, but it doesn't make up for the fact they had a poo race. He crashed Carlos. He crashed with Carlos. He should have gone 2.5 as well. Imagine him in a championship battle on wet races, loses in points. Yeah, true. 3 is generous. Yeah, maybe we can move it down to a 2.5 because even though he didn't crash, he did make fuck loads of mistakes. So, yeah. Leclerc also took out Sainz's front wing at the end. The media didn't cover it. No, I saw that. 2026 is our year, guys. I wouldn't say terrible weekend. They dominated free practice. We don't rate free practices because they mean nothing. You could set lap records in FP1, FP2, and FP3, but if you fucking shit the bed in quality in the race, like, it means nothing. Anyways, majority of you guys giving the Leclerc a 1. Damn, you guys are harsh. He was slow. And he made a mistake in quality, but at least he didn't crash, right? At least he didn't crash. Anyways, moving on. Next up, we have got kind of a hard one to rate. We've got Esteban Ocon. What do you guys rate Ocon out of 10? Guys, if you're just tuning in, welcome. We're doing driver ratings right now. If you're watching on TikTok or YouTube, come join us on Twitch. That's where you can vote in chat. on the poll. Yeah, come join us on Twitch. Come get your votes in by typing in chat in the poll. If you're just tuning in, all you got to do is type in Twitch chat the number that you want to vote for, and it'll pop up on the poll. Okay, hard one to rate. So Ocon in qualifying got out qualified by his teammate in Q2 by 0.4. Ocon qualified 15th, Behrman qualified 8th, so 7 position difference. Knowing that, he's had a bad qualifying. In saying that, he made it through to Q2. He outqualified Liam, Stroll, and the Saubers. But still, in comparison to his teammate, it was a poor qualifying. Then, in the race, so much happened in that man's race. Like, he got taken out by Behrman, which wasn't his fault. And he got clapped up by Liam and Yuki, which wasn't his fault. And yeah, look, he only finished 5 seconds, but he finished 5 seconds behind his teammate. But I think that was because Ollie took him out. At the end of the day, like he had one of those races where it was like, well, he didn't really show too much pace. The strategy wasn't good, which he is to half to blame for. But I think they were going to get double points if it wasn't for Ollie taking him out. So if I'm being honest, I don't know. I think he's like he's like the most 5 weekend you could get. Like quali wasn't good in comparison to his teammate, but it wasn't bad. His race got absolutely clapped up, and he actually was going to recover well if he didn't get taken out by his teammate, but he didn't do anything extraordinary. Oh my god, stutter, what the fuck. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 5, but what do you guys think? Wonder, thank you for the follow, T-Pounds as well. Thank you. The Knucklehead. One of the best drivers on the track. One of the best drivers on track 1 is fair for his standards. I was so depressed the whole race watching the fries, so I don't know anything about the other drivers. What's up, Danger Boy? 4.5, he got fucked over so many times, but still didn't do great. Ocon had a problem at the end of Q2, did he? How did T-Mac just pop out of nowhere for the fucking Ocon rating? Ocon was effing up during qualifying. Had almost stopped just before his final lap. And Ray's got some positions, but got bumped. Wait, really? What happened at the end of Q2? Flat spotters. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, flat spotters tired trying to get out of the way. Fairs. Maybe we'll bump up to a 5.5 then. It just seemed like a weekend where he got fucked. T-Mac set his alarm to 3 a.m. for the Ocon rating. Dedicated to the cause. All right, majority of you guys given Ocon a 5. We agree. All right, next up, we have got Carlos Sainz. What a weird weekend. So many people just had weird weekends. Specifically the Williams and the V Cubs. I need a fart, guys. Could you hear that? Okay, Carlos Sainz. Weird weekend for him. He qualified P11. He outqualified his teammate by 1/10. He outqualified Yuki Hadja, but he got outqualified by Gasly, Alonso, Behrman. Now, this is what's hard about Williams and VCarb is I think their cars are probably capable of making Q3. But the way qualifying is this year, you got to get your car in the perfect window. And if Alonso or Gasly or Behrman in this case end up doing a good lap, they can beat your not so good lap. So I feel like where Carlos qualified isn't bad, but it's also at the same time like you probably should be making Q3. Or you can make Q3. It's more like you can make a Q3 than anything. Anyways, he started P11 and he managed to drop to P12 in the race. Somehow he went backwards with all the chaos that went on. I think it just goes to show how weird Williams' race was. He finished 4.8 seconds behind Behrman, who got taken out / took himself out twice. To be fair, Sainz did get fucked over by Leclerc at the end of the race by having the wing damage or whatever it was. But yeah, weird weekend for Sainz. Qualifying was okay. It was good. It was, I'd say, like just above average. Race though, where was he running before Leclerc clapped him up? Him and Albon were running side by side in the points. I see. And then he pit. I don't know. This is a hard one to rate. I don't know what to do. I'm going to read you guys' messages before I rate because I can't decide right now. Teammate woke up in the middle of the night because he sensed Ocon was being judged. Ocon gets a bonus point for being a good person. I should not be awake. Blame Potsy and Addy. What are you guys playing? The bros held me up for 3.5 hours. What are we doing? Shame a Monegasque terrorist got him out. He got fucked by his ex-man. He was running ahead of Alex for most of it and then got taken out by the fidget spinner. Better give Oscar an 8 and Lando a 9. And Hulk a 10. I better? We'll have to wait and see. Zave and Elbow. Welcome to the stream, guys. What the fuck is happening with that Williams right now? Inconsistencies, both in the car and the drivers, I would say. He didn't really make any mistakes. I'd say so. Yeah, no, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. Qualifying, above average, just slightly above average. Race, to be honest, his race was actually pretty decent. His race was above average, but like these guys need to be the ones that capitalize, like Hulkenberg and Stroll and shit like that. We'll give him a 6. We'll give him above average. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he would have actually got points and outraced his teammate if it wasn't for Leclerc fucking him over at the end. But yeah, majority of you guys giving him a 5. I can't speak right now. What the fuck's happening? Next up, we have got Ollie Bearman with his long ass neck. What do you vote, Ollie Bearman? Get your votes in on the poll. Video gamer, Matt Nav, Richard, Bihanga, Jasmine, Almo. Thank you guys all for the follows. We're on the stream. Damn, today's stream's been crazy for a Grand Prix review. It had so many people tuning in. Usually when I do a Grand Prix review, I get like no new viewers in chat, like no new followers. Like it's like the people who already follow me from the watch longs and stuff like that tune on in. I don't know what's happening today. I guess because the race is banging, everyone's fiending for some F1, for some fucking F1 content. But yeah. Anyways, Ollie Behrman out-qualified his teammate by 4/10 of qualifying. Obviously, Ocon had that problem. But he made it through. Best of the rest in qualifying. Amazing job. Did not expect the Haas to make Q3. And he was only a 10th off Kimi Antonelli. 10 out of 10 for qualifying. I'm not even lying. Amazing. Amazing. Then, but at the same time, he fucked around in practice. Now, we don't usually take practice into account. But he was a silly Billy in practice and gave himself a 10-place grid penalty. We kind of do have to demote that from his rating. Even though we don't look at practice, he was a silly Billy, sped it under the red flags, spun in the pit lane and got himself a 10-place grid penalty, which cost him in the race. So, amazing qualifying. Then in the race, he started from P18 and he managed to finish P11 after getting taken out by Yuki. But the problem was, him and his teammate could have finished in the points. Double points finished for Haas. But he took him and his teammate out with a silly little mistake. It's a hard one. Because qualifying's a 10. And then oh, fuck, you fucked up in practice. Okay, you've demoted yourself down. You can redeem yourself. He was going to redeem himself. So he was still going to get a high rating. But then he kind of threw it away. So, I don't know. I'm thinking like a 6.5 maybe. I think even though he took out Ocon, I still think he had a better weekend than Ocon. Like, he majorly outqualified Ocon. I think he out-race paced Ocon. It's just a shame he took him out. Wait, what? Where was Ocon? Yeah, he's going to overtake Ocon. Yeah. I'm going to say 6.5. Just a little bit above Ocon. He just needs to tidy up his silliness and all those little mistakes that he keeps making. But yeah. Anyways, majority of you guys saying a 6, so we agree. All right, are we on to the top 10? All right, we're on to the top 10 now. Next up. Oh, wait, actually, I didn't read any of you guys' messages in chat. What did I give him? 6.5. Why didn't I read anything about Ollie? Bad streamer. Good qualifying, unfortunate penalty. Behrman, extremely quick and extremely stupid. Would be 6.5, but he took out Ocon, so he gets 6 points taken off of him. All right, he gets a 0.5. Fair. 7, but with the incident down to a 5. Have to degrade for that incident with Ocon. He's your teammate and you should be aware. Yeah, true. Maybe I should give him a 6, actually. Maybe I should give him a 6, because, yeah, doing that on your teammate's not great. Thank you, Behrman, for spinning. Otherwise, butterfly effect, no Hulk podium. Behrman spinning? Wait, what do you mean, Behrman? Wait, how would have Behrman got a podium instead? Did you see Max laughing when he saw Ollie spin in the pit lane? Yeah, that's funny. They could have finished in the points. Well, in fairness, Ocon didn't have a proper Q2 and Ocon's car got charted cloud on that one. Yeah, true. Crashing your teammate is the only thing you can't do. Oh, just caught it. It's because it's so hot in my room. They're not sticking to the walls. I think they need a fresh coat of blue tack. No, it got damaged. Fuck. Yeah, I think I need to like re-stick them up, but anyways. Definitely found this synchronized pirouette amusing. Max became sentient. Anyway, insane time for me to join what Ocon has mentioned. I'm sleeping now. Alright, catch you later. Bro, bro only stayed for Ocon. Okay. Joking. Alright, next up, we have got George Russell. First driver in the top 10. What about George Russell out of 10? If you're just tuning the stream, welcome in. We are doing driver ratings for the British Grand Prix. If you don't know, every Monday after a Grand Prix weekend, we hop on the stream and review the entire weekend. And then we end with driver ratings. If you're watching on TikTok or YouTube right now, come join us on Twitch. That is the chat you can type in to get your votes in on the poll. Otherwise, I can still see them. It just won't be added to the poll. So come join us on Twitch. Anyways. Who are we up to? Oh yeah, G Russ. So Russell in qualifying, amazing qualifying. That Mercedes looked like it was like 4/10 off the leaders all weekend, and then he strings together a perfect lap. And with the Ferraris making a mistake, he jumped them, and it put him only milliseconds off of Lando and Piastri. He fucking smashed it in quali. Honestly, a 10 out of 10 for quali. In the race, he took a risk. I don't think he needed to take the risk. I like that he took a risk, but it was a wrong decision. Very bad decision going on dries in the wet conditions. He then cruised around much quicker than his teammate, kept it clean. I think he made one mistake where he had that spin. Other than that, he was, I think, good race pace. And finished in P10. Now, at the end of the day, he shouldn't be finishing P10 in Mercedes. He should be the one capitalizing on these races. But I think he just kind of put himself in a bad spot off the start. I don't think Russell's done bad. I think he's just made one bad decision, which kind of fucked up his whole race. So, yeah, I think overall, though, Russell still performance-wise had a good weekend. So I'm going to give him a... Is 6 make sense? Why are they falling over again? From a performance standpoint, I think he's done well. I don't know. It's hard, man. It's hard. Let me read what you guys say, and then I'll decide on my final rating. Very good qualifying, but shit race. He had a similar accident to Stroll, no. When Stroll was asked if he can stay out, and he said yes and spun. Similar with Russell race, no. He can be said he could be on slicks, but spun. Right, good quality for Russell, but unremarkable race. Mainly because of the bad luck with the strategy. Oh, it's not bad luck though. He's made that decision. Bad race, but made the most out of his shit strats. What's up, sneaky assassin on the stream, dude? Russell's worst race of the year, even worse than Monaco, you reckon? Drivers can't talk on formation laps, so it must have been the team calling him in, right? Oh, is it drivers? No, I think it's no, it's teams can't talk on formation lap, I think. Unless they got rid of that rule. Yeah. He should have got him back into higher positions like Max did after his spin. Yeah, true. I think his cool on slicks is not wise, and he did some questionable moves. 5 maximum, you reckon? Ooh, I don't know. Has he done... so you guys think he's done worse than the Haas drivers? I don't know. Sneaky assassin, leave it below. It's Wait, drivers can't talk to the team? What? Smoothie, thank you so much for the sub, dude. Thank you so much for subbing to the stream for the very first time. Coming to the tier 1, man. Appreciate it. We had so many new subs this weekend, so thank you guys so much. Specifically, Smoothie. Thank you, dude. Really do appreciate you subbing to the stream for the first time. Consider the cards say yes. Team tells drivers how to warm tires, but the driver can't respond. Yeah, true. Actually, if it wasn't for Ollie taking each other out, take them and the team out, they would have finished ahead of Russell. So, yeah. I'll go 5.5. 5.5 for Russell. Russell should have beaten Strong, Gasly, etc. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe we do have to demote it. All right, we're going 5. I'm leaving it at that. All right, majority of you guys saying 5 as well. You guys persuaded me. You guys persuaded me. All right, next up, we have got Fernando Alonso. Bit of a quiet weekend from him, to be honest. Or whatever you want to call that. Yeah, voted on the poll. What do you rate Fernando Alonso out of 10? So, Alonso, in qualifying, made it through to Q3. He out-qualified his teammate by 4/10 in Q1. He also out-qualified Gasly, Sainz, Tsunoda, Hedger, Albon, Ocon, Liam. I think just showing once again that the Aston is capable of Q3. But should it be there? Probably not. He's just a beast. And then in the race, he managed to finish exactly where he started. I think the only driver who probably finished where he started, to be honest. Oh, and Oscar. Excuse me. What was I saying? Oh yeah, in the race, I think he what actually happened in the race? I don't think he went for a risky strategy. So what actually happened? I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming what happened with him was they didn't take a risk. So because they didn't take a risk, they didn't jump heaps of people, but they also didn't lose heaps of positions. He pit too early onto slicks. Lance has got the better strat. Yeah, he was the first on slicks at the end. It's funny that Newey did one upgrade for this car and it was the 4 fastest. I don't think Newey's ever touched this car, right? Stuck behind Gasly. Team tells driver how to warm up tires, but the driver can't respond right. Considering the cards say yes. BM was catching him towards the end of the race. Alright. I'm still reading stuff about George. Did quite well with a bad strategy. Literally didn't hear anything about him the whole race. It was like a ghost. He did make that call. You're not given the short end of the stick compared to Lance. Quiet race. He had an outburst over the team. Just yeah, try. I remember that. It's funny that Newey. Remember that. He was nowhere this race started and finished 6.5 or 7. Fernando is doing great things, but they go unnoticed because of the chaos. Yeah. I don't know. I think Alonso's actually had a pretty decent weekend. I feel like I'd give him like a 6.5 or a 7. To be honest, a 7. If I gave the Haas's a 6.5 or whatever, I think Alonso deserves a 7. Made Q3, out-qualified his teammate. Wasn't given a good strategy at the start, but I think made the most of the strategy he was... Oh my god! These posters are pissing me off, bro. Fuck, it scared me. He's only finished 5 seconds behind his teammate, and at one point of the race, if I'm not mistaken, they were completely split up on track. Yeah, at one point, they were completely split up. So yeah, I think I'm happy to give Alonso a 7, but what do you guys think? Max has spoken. Knew he couldn't do anything until March, I believe. Yeah, but I think he's fully focused on next year's car. I don't think he's done anything. Anyways, majority of you guys saying 6 for Alonso. I don't know. I think that was maybe a bit too low, but I'm going to give him a 7 personally. All right. Next up, we have got Alex Albon. Give votes in on the poll. Another like, driver kind of like very much under the radar. Let me try to fix this post now. Oh, it got chipped. I'm just going to have to leave that there. Alright, we got an empty poster spot behind me. It's going to look ugly, but oh well, nothing I can do about it. Oh my god! What is happening? What is happening with the YouTube Super Chats this weekend? Turbo25D. Thank you for the £50 Super Chat. Holy fuck. Forgot to mention, but I was waiting for it to come through. I bet on Hulkenberg to finish on the podium and I won £832. Holy shit, dude. Thank you so much for sending me £50 of that 832. Congrats on the winnings. What made you bet on Hulkenberg, and how much did you bet on him? But that's crazy. Congrats, dude. And thank you so much. That honestly, really, really do appreciate that. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. He doesn't read YouTube chat. I do read YouTube chat. It's just Twitch is my priority because that's like my main platform to stream on. But I do read YouTube when I have nothing to read in Twitch chat or when an alert like that comes through. Yeah, Turbo, thank you so much, man. Really, really do appreciate it. It's fucking insane. Enjoy the other £782 of your winnings. I hope you put it to good use. But yeah, thank you, man. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, what made you decide to bet on Hulkenberg? Wait, how long ago did that come through, by the way? Now I feel bad if I don't know. I think it just came through. Anyways, Turbo, thank you so much again. Back to Albon. Let's talk about Albon's weekend. So Albon qualified P14. He got out-qualified by his teammate by 1/10 in qualifying. He got qualified by Hedger and Yuki, Gasly, Alonso, Behrman. Again, I said it before with Sainz. I feel like the Williams is capable of making Q3, but it's not necessarily like a guarantee. But I still think he had a bit of a disappointing qualifying. And then in the race, he managed to finish in the points. He was getting outraced by Sainz though. Sainz ended up having that incident with Leclerc. But he still managed to finish P8, 4 seconds behind Stroll, and ahead of Alonso, Russell, etc., etc. So I think he's had a pretty decent race in the end, but I don't think it's anything too crazy. I gave Alonso a 7, but I think Alonso had a better qualifying and a worse car. So if I gave Alonso a 7, what did I give Sainz? What did I give Sainz? The thing is, I think it's one of those weekends where I don't think Albon's had a bad race. I just don't think I can't remember which race it was before. We've done driver ratings before where this happened, where everyone's like, how does someone in P8 or P7 get a low rating? They finished P7. But the thing is, I don't think they did good. I just think everyone else did worse. Does that make sense? I think a lot of people this weekend, yeah, that's like the prime way to put it. Like, I don't think Albon did good. I just think everyone else did worse. Yeah, he was right behind Sainz most of the race. Yes, he was stuck behind him. Oh my God, Turbo, thank you for another £20 with Super Chat. Holy fuck. Thank you so much, dude. Silverstone always delivers for me. You bet 20 quid. Wait, you're telling me you only got £832 back for a £20 bet on Hulkenberg getting a podium? I thought you were going to say £1 to £2. You're telling me the odds were what? 1 in 60? No. What were the odds? Do you know, that seems low. Look, I don't sports bet, so I don't know. But I feel like that's for a guy who hasn't got a podium in 200 and something races. I thought for £20 you'd get like 2k back. That would be what, like a 1 in 100 chance or something. But yeah, no, you're right. Silverstone always delivers. To be honest, that's probably like a safe bet. No, it's not a safe bet. That's fucking crazy. But a safe bet in the sense of like banking on Silverstone being a crazy race. I can't believe you thought Hulkenberg would get a fucking podium though. That's insane. But yeah, Turbo, thank you so much for another £20. Really, really do appreciate it, man. Honestly, thank you so much. Bet mid-race? Oh, maybe. Okay, anyways, what are you guys saying about Sainz? Sorry, about Albon. You yawning makes me yawn. I'm sorry. Oh my God, Turbo, thank you for another £10. It was a private bet with our group. I see. Wait, how does that work then? How does a private bet with a group work then? Because who decides that it's £830? And like, you know what I mean? Like, if someone bets £20 on, I don't know, Alonso getting a podium, like that would be more likely than Hulkenberg. Either way, I'm glad you clutched up and won. And thank you so much again for another £10. Really do appreciate it, dude. Wait, where the fuck was I up to in chat for Albon? Okay, I think it was about hair. L Plan, that's my goat. Damn, heaps of you guys giving 7s. Don't put it back up. Leave it on the floor. Yeah, I'm going to do now. I think having a quiet race means it was a good one this week. Yeah, but his qualifying was still poo. I mean, if you bet £5 a race on, let's say, Stroll getting a podium, I feel like a hit can make more money than what you spent. Yeah, but it needs to hit at some point. He was right behind Sainz most of the race. 1,500 odds I saw for Hulk. Right, okay. He started last as well. Spa also always delivers unless the FIA make it a safety car show. Spa always delivers? I don't like Spa. I love it as a track, as a hot lapping track, but it never really produces a good Grand Prix in my opinion. Alan, thank you for the follow. Okay, enough waffling. I think I'm going to give Albon a 6.5. I think Alonso had a way better qualifying, and given the car, I think even though he finished behind Albon, he still had a better race. Albon was going to finish behind Sainz. So, yeah, I'm going to give Albon a 6.5. Again, I don't think Albon did bad. I just think everyone else did worse. So, I don't think Albon did amazing. I just think everyone else did worse. So, yeah, I'm going to get 6.5 for Albon. Majority of you guys saying a 7, though. Wow, pretty much everyone's saying a 7. Interesting. Maybe I'm too harsh on everyone this weekend. But, yeah, again, I just feel like more people did worse than good. Excuse me. All right, next up. In P7, we have got Lance Stroll. Now, I think this is going to be a bit of a polarizing one. One, people are going to vote based on their liking towards Stroll. But also, I think some people are going to think he did good. Some people are going to think he did Let's talk about it. So, Stroll, in qualifying, qualified P18. He got out-qualified by his teammate by 4 tenths. Terrible. Terrible qualifying. Once again, out in Q1 while his teammate makes Q3. Absolutely shocking. Yeah. 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10 for qualifying. At least he didn't crash, but still, he's getting out qualified by Bortoleto and Lawson. You know, Lawson is making him, who is upset with this lap. Meanwhile, Lance is just like, Then in the race, right place, right time, made the right decision, which props to him for doing. But the thing is, and this is why I'm going to struggle to rate him, is that strategy put him in P3. That strategy put him in the podium position. And he finished in P7. He dropped 4 positions. He dropped behind Nico Hulkenberg in a Sauber. He dropped behind Lewis Hamilton, struggling and making many mistakes in a Ferrari. He dropped behind Max Verstappen driving a boat. And he dropped behind Pierre Gasly in an Alpine. So for me, he was given the opportunity to get a podium, right? In other words, like, put it this way. He qualified P3. And then he wasn't able to hang on to it with everyone else, struggling behind. It's a hard one. Terrible in qualifying. A result that wasn't maximized. But at the same time, he put himself in a position to get P7 from starting P18. So, yeah. I think I'm going to give him... I think I'll give it a 7. I think I'm going to give him the same rating as his teammate, if I'm being honest. And some of you might disagree, but I think Alonso had a much better qualifying and much better race pace. But Stroll made the right decision and because of it, finished in a higher position. But ultimately, he threw away a podium. Like, all his good was thrown away by his shit race pace. So I can't give him higher than a 7. To be honest, I'd argue giving him lower, but I just don't think that makes sense given he got P7 from P18 in Aston. So, yeah. What are you guys saying, though? Sure, but most of the time they just red flag. No, yeah, true. He took a good risk going on softs. That car is a shitbox. Stroll would be my second choice for driver of the day. He had an incredible race, but tire choice at the end wasn't good. Second choice, really? See, I'd go Nico first. Probably Gasly second. But then, yeah, no one else really stood out. So then I'd probably go Stroll third. I could have had a podium if he didn't cook his tires. Aston's an absolute boat. Even Alonso fell back at the end. Yeah, true. What's up, Jay? And on the stream. Stroll is one of the top drivers in the wet, surprising in my opinion. Yeah. Excellent strategy, but Stroll didn't manage his tires. Still good for him to finish in the points. Lewis started struggling while he was chasing Hulk, and Hulk was more determined. Max is better driver, and I can't explain Gasly. Aston is not good at all. I can't blame him for getting cooked by Lewis. Yeah, fair. I'm going to keep him as 7, though. Majority of you guys saying 8. Okay. All right, next up, we have got, in P6, Pierre Gasly. What do you rate Pierre Gasly's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in Oh wait, I haven't put the poll up yet. Sorry. Now you can get the. Sorry, revote. If you typed it already, type it again. Sorry. Pierre Gasly, P10 in qualifying. He dragged the worst car on the grid to P10 Q3 in qualifying. He obviously got qualified by Alonso. I think that car's better right now. And Ollie Behrman, I think that car's just marginally better. Maybe you could argue he could have out-qualified them, but still, making Q3 while his teammates out in last from crashing. Bum. Gasly's done a really, really good job. Then, in the race, he's moved up the grid. You know, not only is he qualified well, but he's now moved up the grid with great race pace, great strategy, and he's finished in P6. You know, maybe there's an argument, he should finish on the podium with Nico or finish near Nico, but, you know, and he finished, 25 seconds behind Nico for whatever reason. But I don't think Gasly made a single mistake. I didn't see him go off track once. I think he made decent calls with the strategy. You know, obviously Stroll and Nico made better calls, but he made decent calls. And he's finished second best of the rest. I think he's finished exactly where I'd probably expect him. He's finished better than what he's finished. Yeah, he's finished exactly where I expect given the situation, but he's done extremely well coming into this weekend. Honestly, I'm giving him a 9.5. I can't give him a 10 because it wasn't perfect. You know, obviously the strategy call that Stroll and Hulkenberg did, you know, he could have done the same thing and got on a podium. But ultimately, with what he had and coming into this weekend, being in the worst car in the grid, I'm giving it a 9.5. Almost a perfect weekend. He smashed it. He defended well from Lewis also. Yeah, true. Maybe I'll lower this down if you guys convince me, but I think 9.5 is very fair for Stroll. This man amazes me. Moved up 2 places on Russell and Leclerc. I mean, there is a green and pink tractor on the grid. Gasly managed to finish on points and qualifying Q3. He defended well from Lewis. George couldn't pass him on a better car. Has to be a 9. Alpine is the worst car in the grid, but put it into Q3 and made up 4 position. Let's not forget how he defended Lewis beautifully. Yeah, exactly. I think there's only maybe a little bit more that he could have done to get a perfect rating. But yeah, that's why I'm giving him a 9.5. Stroll and Hulk were initially further down, so they could afford to gamble. Gasly was running P5. Yeah, true. Exactly. All right. Majority of you guys agreeing with 9. Almost a perfect weekend for Gasly. I think some people will probably give him a 10, but we're harsh out here. We're harsh. All right, moving on. Top 5 now. We've got Max Verstappen now. I think he's going to be the most polarizing rating of the weekend. Was he driving a boat and did a really good job? Did he make too many mistakes? Was he just pure shit? Let's have a look. But get your votes in. If you're just tuning in, by the way, welcome to the stream. We are doing our driver ratings every single Monday after a Grand Prix weekend. We hop on the stream and we rate the drivers from last to first in the finishing order. If you're watching on TikTok or YouTube right now, come join us on Twitch. That is where you can type in chat to get your vote in on the poll. And yeah, if you are new and don't know how it works, here's the poll. All you got to do is type in Twitch chat and your number gets added to the poll. Simple as that. Cac, Alan, thank you guys for the follows. Who do you think will win Spa? Yeah, Oscar's really good at Spa. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it. Okay, Max, let's talk about it. So you got to keep in mind, he is driving the hardest to drive car on the grid with a Monza setup in the rain. Let's keep that in mind. So in qualifying, he shocked everyone. I predicted Max to be on pole just with the way qualifying was playing out. You could just kind of tell. I love how sometimes me, Tomo, and Tommy, I feel like always sometimes have like similar opinions. And Tomo literally tweeted out at the same point in my stream when I was like, Max is going to get pole. Tomo tweeted out, this smells like a Max pole. I don't know. It's just like when you watch Formula 1 enough, you can just like tell when Max is just going to do something crazy, and he did. And he did exactly that. In qualifying, I feel like no one expected him to do that. Like the broadcast wasn't talking about it. The commentators weren't talking about it. He kind of just came out of nowhere and put the perfect lap together whilst Piastri bottled his lap. Lando bottled his lap. Lewis bottled his lap. Leclerc bottled his lap. They gave him a car that had low downforce, knowing if he put the perfect lap together, he could start pole and then hopefully just hold on the race. Unfortunately, though, in the race, it was raining, which was his worst nightmare. he held on to P1 for a good amount of time, but obviously lost out to McLaren's, and he was going to hopefully cruise home for a P3 until he spun. He made a mistake. He actually made multiple mistakes, obviously, before that as well. But again, you got to keep in mind what car he was driving. After he spun, though, he clawed his way back and got a P5, which, you know, if you think about other drivers who made a mistake, you know, like Lance was in P3 at one point and dropped down to P7. Russell made a mistake. Leclerc made a mistake. These guys weren't able to recover, and the fact that Max recovered to P5 is really good. With all that said, I'm going to give Max an 8. Part of me feels like maybe a little bit higher, 8.5, but at the end of the day, I always say drivers are responsible for the setup, and like he chose to be on that setup, which ultimately was dreadful in the end in the rain. And also you got to drive to the conditions, and obviously the conditions were really bad, and he made multiple mistakes on his lap. But you cannot deny he was driving a boat, and he was able to put that boat in P5 and on pole. So yeah, I think 8's very fair for Max, but let me know what you guys think. Okay, it's not as polarizing as I thought. I thought I was going to see some 4s and some 10s. I don't know. Not 10s, but the question is, was Sauber worse than Alpine this weekend considering qualifying? No, I don't think so. I think Alpine was worse. It was undrivable. It looked undrivable. I don't know how Gazzy did it. Jimmy Rhombus, one of the stream guys, did not expect him to lose it on the restart. I know it's low downforce car, but a bad choice of setup. Considering his setup and that comeback from P10, I'd say 10, but he started P1. Can't be higher than a 7 given the spin, in my opinion. He should have been on top 3 but lost it, but he chose himself to go with low downforce setup. Let's keep in mind Max has got to take account for the setup. No, I agree. But then again, was the setup bad, or was the setup actually really good and it just didn't pan out the way that they thought? Because you can't change it after qualifying, you know. But yeah, I guess that's the risk they took. As soon as I saw Lewis lose purple sector 1, I knew it was Max's pole. You could say he went from P1 to P5, but that car had no right to start on P1, and his brilliance was the only reason it did. And he did spin, but recovered well to get P5. That was a solid setup for the wet. Definitely a solid 8 out of 10. Yeah, I agree. So Max chose and agreed dry setup to be on pole, and we see that it was quite difficult to overtake there. And because weather promised to be much better on Sunday, and when we are saying that he should have predicted weather change, I think it's too much. Also, all his mistakes were due to his setup, and his intentions justify this choice. Outcome is not great. I'm playing FIA and not taking consequences into consideration. 9. Lance didn't make a mistake. Lol, it was just dreadfully slow. I'd say 6.5. Quality absolutely fantastic, but the race was a mess. The 2 mistakes he made really fucked him. For Max quality, the mistakes he made were poor. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, I think for Max's standards, you could argue this is a lower rating, but for me, it's like, for me, you can't take that into account, you know? Yeah. Anyways, enough talking about Max. Majority of you guys saying 8 as well, so we agree on that. Let's move on to top 4 now. Another driver who I think is going to be a little bit polarizing. Lewis Hamilton. What do you vote, Lewis Hamilton? Out of 10. Get your votes in on the poll. The Life of Brendan. Thank you for the follow. Lewis had an interesting weekend. Lewis qualified P5, making a mistake on his final lap. Had the opportunity to be on the front row, maybe even pole position, but threw it away. But he still out-qualified his teammate. So is that a W? It's a W, but it's still not a great one. He also got out-qualified by George Russell, but at least he out-qualified Kimi, right? And then in the race, didn't do anything amazing with the strategy, but didn't do anything bad either. Just kind of cruised around. Had some awesome moments in the wet. Had some awesome overtakes, but at the same time made a lot of mistakes. Their car looked like it was difficult to drive, but not crazy. And ultimately at the end, his race pace sucked so bad he couldn't catch Nico. Does anyone know why he couldn't catch Nico Hulkenberg? Like how was he slower than Nico in the wet and in the dry in a Ferrari? That makes no sense to me. Yeah, he went off at the pit exit after he came out on his tires. He went off track multiple times. But again, he had some nice moves. He ultimately finished 5 seconds behind Nico and missed out on the podium. It wasn't a bad weekend for Lewis, but I don't think it was great. I think if I compare him to Max, where Max outperformed a poo car, I feel like Lewis I would say Lewis underperformed given his car, but given the conditions, I thought he did quite well. So I'm gonna say a 7.5 for Lewis personally. I think it's tough because I feel like him and Max made the same amount of mistakes, and they finished right next to each other. But Lewis did do better. But then again, I don't know. I put it this way: I think Max and Lewis had the same amount of mistakes, had a very similar race in terms of like they didn't do amazing, but they did well given the circumstances. But at the end of the day, Lewis choked qualifying and Max didn't. So from a performance standpoint, I'd put Max higher. What are you guys saying though? Too many errors cost him a podium. He went off at pit exit. Still, a 7 fucked up his quali race and could not get close to the Sauber. He baked his tires towards the end, it looked like. Nico made a fastest lap while being chased by Lewis. Mistakes in quali. Don't think the tire choice was wrong, but the Ferrari just can't race in the rain as he kept going off track and couldn't catch Sauber. Hulk had a better tire management and an end of mediums. Hulk were better on the softs. Lewis made more mistakes, but Max made more costly mistakes, yeah. You know what? Actually, I think I'm going to lower him down to 7. When you think about it, like, he made mistakes in quality, which Max didn't. He had an easier to drive a car than Max. And like you said, like, he couldn't close the gap on Hulkenberg. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm going to give Lewis a 7. I'm going to give Lewis a 7. Max and Hamilton should be rated the same. I disagree because Max was in a worse car. And Max had that insane qualifying lap, and we're rating the performance at the end of the day. I'm gonna go 7. I'm gonna go 7 for Lewis. Majority of you guys saying 7 as well. All right, we move on to the top 3. NP3. We have got Nico Hulkenberg. The poll is up. Get your votes in. I mean, let me just rate real quick before we vote on the poll. Straight to a 10. Do we even need to do a rating? Do we even need to talk about it? So Nico Hulkenberg, in qualifying, keep in mind, in qualifying, he qualified P19. He got out-qualified by his teammate by 1/10. I do think that car potentially could have... that car could have made Q2. You know, and we've seen it in previous weeks. It can make Q2, but yeah, so it wasn't a great qualifying. He was very underwhelming and got beaten by his teammate. So if we're talking qualifying, he probably gets like a 5 out of 10. Like, he didn't do bad, but to be honest, he did kind of bad. He didn't do bad, but you know, I think there was more potential in that Sauber. However, in the race, he went above and beyond. He had an 11 out of 10 race. And I always say, I will take your qualifying performance into the rating. But if you outperform the car and finish way above and beyond, completely eliminate qualifying even mattering, qualifying just doesn't even come into the fucking rating anymore. This man pulled the perfect strategy, perfect timing. But most importantly, I don't want to hear anyone say Nico got lucky. Did he get lucky that it rained? Yes, but everyone was in the same position in the rain. Everyone is in the same position to luck out from the rain. But you know what's funny though? The rain stopped. There were safety cars. He defended Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari. He outpaced Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari. He was setting faster laps than Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari. He caught up and overtook Lance Stroll in an Aston Martin, which is a better car. And he didn't make a single mistake. Like, if you go through the grid, right? In the race, Oscar Piastri made a mistake. Lewis made a mistake. Max made a mistake. Stroll made a... actually, Stroll didn't. Russell made a mistake. Ollie made a mistake. Like, the whole grid, half the grid, basically made a mistake. Hello? My chat just disconnected. Hello? Hello? Oh, what the fuck? My Twitch chat just disconnected. Sorry, I thought my stream went down. He didn't make a mistake. He had amazing pace, and he completely outperformed the car. He is a 10. He's 11 out of 10. Well, actually, no. If he had a perfect qualifying, he gets a 10 out of 10. But I think the fact that he goes from 19th to 3rd is insane. Like, how is that real? How has he gone from 19th to 3rd? Can I just say, McLaren not spraying him is just pure frustrating and annoying. Yeah, we spoke about that in the stream. It was kind of disappointing. All right, what are you guys saying about Hulk? 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. 9.8 maybe because of the shit quali. No, you got to eliminate qualifying when you have a result that good. Out-qualified by Gabby and Stroll. Max 10, 6 out of 10. Borderlands said Sauber set up the car only for the race and didn't care about the quality. Yeah, so they must have built it for the wet then. No discussion, just pure gold. He made impossible possible. That's the best way to put it. He made the impossible possible. No need to justify this would be 11 if it existed. Is not making a mistake being called lucky. Surely that's skill. Yeah, no, exactly. I don't know what we're voting, but Hulk is a 20 out of 10. Hulk is up TK. How's it going, dude? Hulkenberg dominance made bore fans. Hulk Sunday drive was a drive of the ages. One of the best in F1 history. Perfect time management, perfect strategy, not a single mistake, insane race pace. If he's in a top car, he laps the entire field. I gotta agree with you. I actually gotta agree with you. It was the perfect race. There was not a single thing he did wrong. Even when we rate Lando or Max or Piastri sometimes, we're like, oh, but they could have done this. There's nothing he could have done different in the race at all. Give that man a competitive machine, my go. He's killing it at the moment. I mean, he is kind of not as good in qualifying as he was last year. There's a few races where Gabby is pushing him, but I think that's because the car is just so inconsistent. Anyways, there's so much good to say about Hulkenberg, but because he had a perfect race, there's not much really to talk about. So everyone basically giving him a 10. Well done, Nico. Welcome to the 10 club. That might be the first time I've given him a 10. Oh, actually, maybe not. Maybe not. Anyways, we move on to the top 2 now, where there's a bit more to talk about. Oscar Piastri. What do you rate Oscar Piastri out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. He had the best pace after both McLarens who did. Even if he had better quality, he wouldn't have beaten the McLarens anyway. Yeah, exactly. Also enjoying the content. Here's a good follow. Yo, appreciate it, dude. Thank you. Okay, Oscar Piastri's an interesting one. I think he was the second best driver of the weekend. Of the race behind Nico Hulkenberg. I guess if you take qualifying into account, maybe he was the best driver of the weekend. Across both sessions. So let's talk about it. Oscar in qualifying set an amazing amazing banker lap. Unfortunately, that perfect lap, he couldn't hook up again when it mattered with the track Evo, and he got edged by Max. He made a mistake on his final run, which cost him that pole position. But still, he qualified P2. He outqualified his teammate, and even with a mistake, finished ahead of Hamilton and Leclerc. So he put himself in a nice position for the Grand Prix, which is exactly what he did. He, stayed on the back of Max, got it done easily on a straight, and kind of drove off into the distance. Unfortunately, under the safety car, he did a dumb mistake. I don't think he did it intentionally. I don't think he's stupid, but it's more just like a why. Why are you on the straight braking that much? If you want to hear my opinion on the incident, we spoke about it earlier in the Grand Prix review, but basically, I think going from 218 kilometers an hour down to 52 is fucking ridiculous. And I think that's not a mistake. That's just being silly at that point. Same as Behrman in practice. It's just being silly at that point. So the pen was deserved, and it cost him the win. But I think he was the better driver. He was a better driver than Lando this weekend. So with that said, I'm going to give him an 8. I think if it wasn't for... I think if he had won the race with no safety car problem, I would have given him a 9.5. Only demoting 0.5 off for quali. So taking into account the pen, I'm taking 1.5 off. He still got P2. He still had an amazing performance. It's just a shame that incident cost him a win. And it was a pretty silly mistake. So I'm giving him an 8. Maybe I don't know. Is an 8.5 too high? I guess for McLaren, it's hard because I feel like knocking 1.5 off for one mistake that wasn't even like, it wasn't like a crash or anything like that or a spin. It's just kind of like, I don't know. He just kind of made a mistake. Yeah, I'm going to go 8.5. I'm going to go 8.5. Again, 0.5 off for quali because of the mistake. And I'm knocking 1 off for getting penned in the race because, put it this way, if it was a crash, I would take way more off. But it was one of those things where it's like, it was silly, but it wasn't like, yeah. True, he did go off track. Okay, we'll go 8 then. We'll go 8 because he did go off track. But yeah. 8 is valid. 8 is good. 8.5 tops. He was never catching Lando on the mediums. Lando was absolutely flying purples over that second stint. But that's the second. Are you the same guy? It's the second time I've seen that comment in chat today. Piastri was catching Lando and towards the end of the race, and obviously then made a mistake, but he was catching Lando at the end of the race, and Lando was nowhere near him the entire race. Actually, to be fair, Lando was catching him towards the end of the stint, but yeah. I guess there's also an argument he should be rated lower, because if he did this in a Mercedes or a Ferrari or even the Red Bull, it would drop him so far down. He's lucky that he had a car good enough to combat that 10-second pen. Can't be the best driver of the weekend when you throw away a win. 7 got a pen and went off. If he hadn't gone off, he might have caught Norris. Yeah, true. Me from Guy on TikTok about time followed you on Twitch. Yo, welcome to the stream. I'm the Miro. Thank you, dude. Thank you for the follow. Amazing quality and amazing race. Really unlucky with the penalty. Didn't get pole when he did amazing race, but his questionable breaks. He was never catching that. I read that. He was the fastest in quali and fastest in race, but lost out due to a deserved penalty. He wasn't the fastest in quali because Max beat him, but yeah, he was, if you're talking comparison to Lando, he was super fast in the wet and faster than Lando and Max and gapped them by 10 seconds, was similar in terms of pace. Oscar's one who set the fastest lap. Yeah, exactly. How can it be that Lando was setting purples? Yeah, I agree. Piastri closed down the gap to around 3.9 seconds at some point and set the fastest lap. Yeah, I don't know why I keep seeing that comment in chat. Oscar's fastest lap was 3 to 4 tenths better than Lando's, though. I mean, Lando did enough staying within below 10 seconds, yeah. I'm going to leave Oscar for now, but it might change depending on how I rate Lando. So, for now, I'm going to say Oscar is an 8. Piastri was not catching Lando. 4.4 out of the pits, 7 by the end of the race. He wasn't 4.4 out of the pits. Was he? I mean, the highlights don't show up, but I'm fairly sure he came out of the pits like 12 seconds down and then closed into 4 seconds. Catching Lando, and then Lando started to pick it up and Oscar stayed around 4 seconds. Lando usually preserves his tires at the end, beginning of the stint, so he has the advantage over everyone else at the end, like we've seen all races. He had the best race pace. Lando did not have the best race pace, in my opinion. Piastri was flying, in my opinion. Anyways, majority of you guys saying 8 as well, so we agree on that. That just leaves Lando Norris to talk about. What do you guys rate Lando Norris out of 10? Get your votes into the poll. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. Thank you all for joining me for the driver ratings this weekend. Be sure to join us on Twitch. That's where you can vote in chat for the polls. But yeah, be sure to follow down below. All right. Lando Norris. Oh, okay. You guys are not going to agree with my rating then. Okay. Lando Norris in qualifying got out-qualified by his teammate and by Max Verstappen. You know, I knocked 0.45 off for Piastri. I would knock 1 off for Lando in qualifying. You know, he not only got beaten by his teammate, but he also got beaten by Max Verstappen. And he made that mistake on his final lap. But it was a really clumsy mistake as well. Then, in the race, he got past Max straight away like he did with Piastri, but Piastri was way gone. I thought Piastri's race pace on the interstint was amazing. And I feel Lando kind of lacked in that department to the point where, you know, I was watching the race thinking like, man, as much as I'd love Lando to win this race, I don't think he deserves it right now. Like he's just not on the pace of Piastri. You know, for his home Grand Prix, I thought it was a pretty disappointing. I would have liked to have seen, like, put it this way. I feel like your home Grand Prix, that extra 10% comes out. And we didn't see that in qualifying. And we didn't see that in the first stint in the race. Then, safety car comes out. Piastri gaps him again. You know, they don't even race at all when they were close to one another. Piastri obviously gets the penalty. There was a point in the race where Lando was closing in on Piastri because Piastri had to serve his penalty. To be fair, Lando did get fucked over the pit stop with the double stop. But I guess that's what you get for qualifying behind your teammate. So that is fair. Actually, that is, to be fair to Lando, that, you know, that was a point as to why he was behind Piastri. And then he had to get past Max again. So he did kind of get fucked over there. Then obviously Piastri served his pen. I thought, and the way I saw it was Piastri came out of the pits and started to close down on Lando, showing he had better pace. And then Lando started to push a little bit. So they're pretty similar in pace. But that first stint to me from Piastri was just amazing in comparison to Lando. At the end of the day, Lando got the win. Now, look, I don't take anything away from Lando. I don't think it's a free win. I don't think it's a gifted win. Anything like that. If anything, it's Piastri fumbling the win. But I also don't think Norris had an amazing weekend. You know, if I compare that to literally last week in Austria, if I compare that to Singapore, if I compare that to Zandvoort, I don't look at this win from Norris and go, wow, he was phenomenal this weekend. You know, he got out-qualified by his teammate, made a mistake in qualifying, and I don't think his race pace was as good as Piastri. He did drive a flawless race, to be fair. He did drive a flawless race, but I think he did get outpaced by Piastri. So I think for those reasons, I'm giving it an 8.5. I think ultimately, I don't know, but then I'm like, should I give him a 9? But I genuinely feel like it's a hard one. I was going to say, I generally feel like if you put any other driver in, any of the other top drivers in that car, they would have beaten Lando. But then again, Leclerc and Russell were fumbling that race, and Lando was flawless. So maybe it is a 9. Okay, put it this way, right? Put it this way. If I had to rate Lando and Piastri off of race pace. Okay, if I had to rate Lando and Piastri off of race pace, I'm giving... Sorry, pace of the weekend. So let's say qualifying and race pace. If I had to rate their pace, solely their pace, I would give Piastri a 9.5, and I'd give Lando an 8.5. I think the only reason why Lando did better this weekend was because he kept it clean and didn't make a mistake over Piastri. There was a world where I was going to rate Piastri above Lando, but after talking about it and see what you guys had to say, you guys are right. Like, it doesn't make sense to put Lando below Piastri. So, yeah. I think a 9's fair, but I think it needs to be clear that, like, he didn't have better pace than Piastri. I'm surprised so many people think, I don't know, I guess it's opinion at the end of the day, but I'm surprised people think that Lando was quicker than Piastri. I did not see that at all in this race. And he definitely isn't a 10. I don't think you can give Lando a 10 this weekend when he didn't out-qualify his teammate and made a mistake in qualifying, which cost him pole, and in the race was slower than his teammate. The only reason he won. I mean, I'm not saying this is a way to diss Lando, but the only reason he won was because Piastri got a pen. It wasn't because he outraced him. Anyways, what are you guys saying? People rate too high because of the win. He didn't have the best of performances. I agree. Feel like the safety cars skewed the race pace narrative. Not sure if he would have passed, but towards the end of the second stint, he was close in the shitty pit stop. What gap was 1.4 before Piastri pitted? Hey, Ponden, I sent you a message. All right, check that out later. Bad3RX on the stream, dude. Murgoat on the stream. Thank you for the follow. I mean, Piastri had clean air once Norris passed Max. He was literally fast and caught Piastri and inters. I remember that he did 0 mistakes. Yeah, big props to Lando for the 0 mistakes in the race, given those conditions, which is rare for him. So really well done. You could say he was given the win, but you have to understand the two people in front of him made mistakes, which cost them. No, 100%. When race has changeable condition, it's not all about who is fastest. He did what he needed to do and put himself in a position to win. Yeah, true. It was 50-50. Lando faster on dry and Oscar faster on the wet. Yeah. Lando was getting gapped at the beginning by Oscar and Max, who were battling. He did match Oscar at times, though. 0 mistakes by Lando in the race. Kept it clean when he needed to. Lando's pace towards the end of the stints are better. Not sure if he would have passed in the race without the pen, but yeah, I feel like the safety car skewed the race pace. You have a point about the first safety car. Without it, Lando might have gotten to within 10 seconds of Oscar. Yeah. Yeah, Piastri was way up the fucking road because Lando got stuck behind Max. He qualified. Whack. Yeah. Better Rex. I saw your message, bro. I saw your message 14 times. dude. I think it's fair given he was one of the cleanest drivers of the day. I feel like you penalize Lando more than Oscar when he finishes behind in quality because I'm not sure if I would knock him for being fractionally behind. Yeah, maybe, but I literally try and get the times for the last stint on the mediums. Lando was cooking Oscar until the last 2 laps when Lando said he was looking at the crowd. Lando said he was looking at the crowd, right? All right, guys, that is it for the driver ratings. Wait. YouTube chat. Does he even check YouTube chat? I do sometimes, Steve, but I prioritize Twitch chat. Seems like all of us were saying he is completely wrong, lol. Well, Steve, I'm live on Twitch as well if you want me to read chat, but I read YouTube chat occasionally like I am right now. Lando was clearly saving the beginning. So clear. Lando was saving in the beginning. Why would... Okay, question. If he was, why is Lando saving his inters in the beginning when he knows he's going to do 1 to 2 pit stops? That doesn't make sense. It's not an opinion. Look at the statistics. The only reason. Piastri wasn't closing at the end of the race. Gap was 5 after the final stop. I don't know. Interesting. It's interesting that half the people think Piastri had better race pace and half the people think Lando had better race pace. Maybe we're watching 2 different races, but I don't know. I guess it depends how you interpret it. If you think Lando is saving his tires to push, then yeah, maybe Lando has better race pace. But to me, Piastri pulled a massive gap and was flying because he qualified ahead of his teammate and got past Max. And then obviously Lando had to get past Max twice, which unfortunately, yeah. He said it was a mistake to save in the post-race press conference. Interesting. Okay. Well, either way, regardless of what I said, I'm still giving him a 9. I still don't think you can give him a 10 because he didn't have a perfect race or a perfect weekend. He could have qualified better, and I think his race pace could have been better. Does clean air count for his pace? I mean, that's where qualifying comes into effect, right? I think he was just really cautious at the beginning due to conditions. Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's what gave him a great race. So, gave him a great result. Anyways, enough talking about Lando. Majority of you guys give him a 9. So we agree on that. I'm not gonna lie, I came into it expecting to rate Lando lower. I think when I looked at Lando's race at face value in my head, I was kind of like, he had a good weekend. He had a great result. He deserved the win, but I don't think he was the best driver on the field. But now that I talked about it and like hear your guys' thoughts, like you're definitely right. Like he made no mistakes, whilst everyone else is making mistakes. And yeah, his race pace might not have been as good as other drivers for me, specifically Piastri. It was his cautiousness that got him the win, and that's what matters in races like that. So yeah, fair. Anyways, guys, that wraps up the driver ratings for the British Grand Prix. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, hit the follow button down below. We do this every single Monday after a Grand Prix weekend. So join me on the Monday after the Belgian Grand Prix to do it all again. If you watch on YouTube right now, come join us on Twitch. That is the place you want to come, not only to watch streams, because we're always live on Twitch, but it's also the place you can vote in Twitch chat to get your vote in on the poll. And for the people complaining that I don't read YouTube chat, that's the place where I can actually see your messages a lot better, because that is the main place that I stream. But anyways, YouTube chat, thank you guys all for watching. Be sure to subscribe down below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next YouTube stream. Not sure when that will be, but keep your eyes peeled. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.